Welcome to Gusto Next. What do you think? Incredible, incredible. So yes, I am Will Lopez. Thanks for the Beyonce reference. I'm going to put that on my LinkedIn, by the way, my resume. That's incredible. And I have the privilege of empowering all our customers at Gusto, from accounting partners to small and growing businesses. And I've just been so blessed to be here at Gusto. I have actually been in the profession for 20 years, kind of dating myself here. So I'm excited to be with my peers. And today we're going to actually have a great conversation with two of the three founders. Our third founder, Tomer London, is actually in Israel with his family celebrating Rosh Hashanah. So if you're watching virtually, hey, I think he's watching Gusto Next virtually. Say hello in the chat. So we have two incredible founders. Are you ready to get started? Okay, let's do this. Well, Josh, Eddie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us. Excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I think first things first, and I always love, and I think we all love, a great founding story. I think when I think about Gusto, its start, its rise and success. Josh, kind of starting with you, Eddie, Tomer, you guys are passionate about solving problems and really helping small businesses. What occurred in your relationship, and what caused you to start Gusto, and how are you solving problems at the early days?
Yeah, so really excited to be here. It's actually a pretty incredible coincidence, but when Tomer, Eddie, and I were each around 5 or 6 years old, we wrote these manifestos about the people platform. And no, just kidding.
I have 5 years old is pretty impressive.
Impressive. I have a 3.5-year-old, and I know maybe she'll write something like that. But we have the great privilege, first off, so great to see many of you here. Looking forward also to seeing folks virtually. But we started Gusto 11 years ago, and I would say a really strong belief we have is that companies don't exist for their own benefit. Companies exist to solve problems, and they're customer problems. And so for us, how we became aware of the problem space was each of us had run prior small businesses, startups. And so we had gone through the process of setting up things like payroll, onboarding some new teammates, setting up health benefits, and felt that there was an opportunity to make it much, much better. That was one of the main catalysts. The second was family and family exposure to similar problems. So Tomer, his dad runs a small business, a small clothing store. That was the first place he worked when he was young. Eddie will talk about this, I think, shortly, but his mom ran payroll for his family's doctor office. And then my mother-in-law actually is an accountant and did payroll as well. And so those two things give us exposure to, hey, there's something here broken, frustrating. And I really believe that technology is a tool, right? But it's an incredible tool applied correctly to solve big problems and get leverage to do it at scale. And so we just got excited about trying to make things like how you build a team, how you stay compliant, how you do benefits, how you do payroll better and easier. And we got started building.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I know you touched on it. Eddie, I hear that your mom actually played a really prominent role in shaping and forming Gusto in the early days. What went on with mom at the time?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Eddie. I lead our technology teams at Gusto. I grew up in a small business, like literally. My mom and dad were small business owners. They had a small medical practice. My mom was one of the employees. We always had maybe a receptionist, one other employee in that business. They ran that for 35 years, and they retired a couple years ago. But I just remember growing up, all the way up until I could drive, my mom would leave the office during her break, pick me and my sister up from school after we were done with school, and we would get shuttled back to the office. And it was a physical office with an actual back office. There was a little back door where we would sneak in and we just do our homework there until my mom and dad were done with working. They would close up the business. Sometimes it'd be pretty late, and we all go home together as a family. I think that's a lot of how small businesses operate, right? You kind of grow up as a family, and I'm sure many of the folks here are working with people that kind of have similar experiences. And my mom was the one that was doing all of the back office tasks, right? She was doing the payroll, she was doing the bookkeeping, the insurance billing, and she was working with an accountant to help her with it. And so I just kind of really grew up surrounded by this my entire life. And wherever I could, a lover of technology, I'd try to find ways to automate things for her, do little things with software that could maybe take 1 or 2 steps out of the 1,000 different things that she had to do on a monthly basis to keep this business running. She was really the unsung hero of the small business. And despite my mom was a math major, she was very smart, she had an accountant. Despite all that, there were lots of frustrations and lots of mistakes that were made over the 35 years that they were running the business. In fact, shortly after we got started, I got kind of curious, and my mom and I sat down and started to calculate all the payroll tax penalties that she had paid throughout the past 20 years. And we actually came up with an estimate of about $200,000 that she had paid in payroll tax penalties. Much of that she didn't even know were penalties. She thought it was part of the payroll taxes that she had to pay. And so while I can't say that I wrote a manifesto even when I was in high school at that time, I think that was a really important driver for me when we got started. And I always kind of had my mom in mind as we were building the product. And of course, as all moms should, they become your first customers, your biggest cheerleaders, and they switched over to us. And I just remember the happiness and the joy it brought her the first time that she was able to run payroll on her phone and not have to do it through pen and paper.
I can add one quick story anecdote. We have to say Sheena. Thank you, Sheena. Sheena's Eddie's mom. Maybe she'll watch.
If you're watching, Eddie's doing great, by the way.
Yeah. No, she's also been at times our quality control, or part of our quality control. He didn't share that she signed up for Gusto when the business was still running, didn't tell us, and then kind of went through the full flow and then sent us a report after with her scorecard of how we had performed.
I remember when you shared that story with me earlier this year, you talked about how your mom's accountant was telling your mom, and probably mentioning it to you, that what they were experiencing around payroll taxes and penalties and interest, it wasn't isolated to just them. It was really a pervasive issue. Thinking about Gusto in the early days and building the product and technology that made those moments timely and paying those things on time. Yeah. From your perspective, it looked like accountants and small businesses were really working together, and Gusto was really keen about that relationship, right?
100%. It was from the beginning. Early on, one of the things that I thought was important to do is to just learn as much about this space as possible. And the first idea I came up with was to talk to my mom's accountant, because I had a lot of experience growing up doing my homework in the back office, seeing how my mom did it. But in my mind, I thought it was kind of crazy that my mom was doing it this way. I thought she was the outlier of how small businesses are running the business, everything from the finance to the people aspects of it. So I asked my mom, could I talk to your accountant? And then so the accountant has several clients, and I got connected to them, and I talked to the accountant as well, and I found out that actually my mom's business was the norm and not the exception. This was the way to do things, and those penalties that we calculated was not. I'm willing to bet that, obviously I didn't calculate it for all of her accountant's clients, but I'm willing to bet that this is not an uncommon thing that happened across many small businesses. So it was one of the first aha moments when we really started to dig into this, that we can make a better way of doing this, and my mom's valuable time could be spent and other aspects of running that business.
Yeah. Turning to the next chapter, and Josh, really, there's a lot going on in the world, right? It's just the list is way too long, and I think it's been so critical for people to come together to really overcome these obstacles. From your perspective, how do you see, the relationship between Gusto, its accountant partners, its small growing businesses being so vital to this moment in time?
Yeah, no, I think you're alluding obviously to, there's a lot of factors at play, but macro, economy, recession. Something that I always keep top of mind when it comes to company building and navigating the ups and downs on the market side is how to help the SMBs, right? How to help the small and medium businesses. And all too often, they're the ones that are actually least able to navigate recessionary environments because historically they've had the least amount of support and help, least access to modern tools, technology, and/or have had to play heroics, and then their accountants and bookkeepers have had to play heroics. And so, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't think anyone does. Although we do have some economists at Gusto, so I should ask them what they think. But what we really focus on, and I think in partnership with all of you, is how do we help the small and medium-sized businesses navigate. And I think 2020 was a great example of that with the onset of COVID. I think today the core of it remains the same. Can we actually simplify their life? Can we actually save them time, save them money? Can we help accounting partners really move up the stack, provide more sophisticated services, things like people advisory, become even a closer partner to these small and medium-sized businesses so they don't feel alone. They aren't, to kind of Eddie's example, kind of left trying to be a hero amidst a time of a lot of duress.
Eddie, on your side, what's Gusto building to help others adjacent to the current environment?
Yeah, we really thought, how has the needs of small businesses changed over the past couple of years? And as everyone here is very familiar with, the world has changed significantly, and the world for small and medium businesses have changed significantly as well. One trend, which I know we're all familiar with, is distributed work, remote work. We're seeing in our data a lot of businesses actually hire outside of their state for their first time. And so one of the things that we've built in the past couple of years is state tax registrations in all 50 states. You can do that completely through the product now. I don't know if anyone here I'm sure many of you here has actually registered their own business, but I remember one of the first things I did for fun after I graduated was to actually register a small business of my own. And the things you have to do is it's crazy. Like, I remember having to take out an ad in the newspaper, physical newspaper, to announce that I'm creating this company and this is the name, so that anyone who is still reading physical papers can raise their hand and say, I have the same name. And you have to take out that ad and run it for a few days. And that's just one example of the many things you have to do to hire someone in a state. And we're seeing businesses hire in multiple states now, right? The number of multi-states has just exploded. So Gusto has really helped from a product side to really make this as easy as possible so that you don't have to do all those things. You can just do it through the product. Businesses are hiring not just out of state, but out of country as well, maybe even in Canada. And Gusto now supports international contractor payments in over 100 different countries. You could do that just as easily as you pay someone who's working in your office. And finally, the thing that I'm really excited about, Josh talked about the importance of helping businesses survive. And one thing that we all know from the last couple of years is the importance of managing cash flow. That was the big thing that many businesses went under during COVID. And R&D tax credit is just a easy way for small and medium businesses to get real dollars into their bank account with very little effort. It's like a program that's out there that businesses should take advantage of. And Gusto, through our software and partnering with accountants, is making this much more accessible than ever before. You used to only be worth it when you have a large company and you can get a large amount of credits, but these days we're seeing through Gusto, credit amounts of $20,000, $30,000 a year, which is huge for a small business. And you could do that with very little effort now on Gusto. And that's one of the things that, when I look back before COVID, we didn't have any of those three things that I just talked about. Now we have them, and they're all kind of in response to how the needs of small businesses have changed.
Yeah. Josh, I think to Eddie's point, talking about liquidity, small businesses, tax credits, Gusto right now, serves up R&D tax credits. In your mind, is that just the start of how to help small businesses through tax credits? Do you see Gusto kind of entertaining other opportunities to provide more liquidity to small businesses?
I mean, the short answer is yes, and we're also eager to always hear ideas from our partners. At a high level, the things that kind of meet the sweet spot of us wanting to go help and build something, a lot of times we're also partnering, frankly, and we have a lot of partners here as well. Other partners, software companies that actually have built amazing products, and we're actually serving more as a distribution opportunity. But the sweet spot for us is complex, compliance-centric, regulated product spaces with lots of different stakeholders, lots of different forms, documents, and just an area that begs how software can help make it more accurate, make it more scalable. And so payroll falls into that. Obviously, you all know we do that and have done that for many years. We've processed hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of payroll today. Small group health benefits and more in the health benefits domain falls nicely in that area. And tax credit, we're right now focused more on R&D tax credit, but there's obviously many different tax credits out there. And there's such a great example of something that historically, bigger companies have had access to, smaller companies have been left more on their own or unaware. And we, again, can make it easier for them to access it. So beyond that, future product roadmap, we definitely have lots of things under development. We're also always brainstorming and eager for feedback. But yeah, no immediate secret product launches to announce right now.
Yeah. I mean, speaking to the current environment, like COVID really did impact a lot of companies, a lot of people everywhere, not only health-wise, but business-wise as well. And one of the things that we see out there, or at least I see out there, let's use the IRS as an example, they're backlogged 21 million tax returns, something like that. I think they recently shredded a bunch. That's a little concerning. IRS were shredding documents like that. Josh, on your side, has Gusto seen an increase in more of those tax notices, those compliance issues, as more and more companies relied on Gusto to help them through the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, to be very direct about it, and you all, I think, as partners know this already, the core of our offering is peace of mind, taking on something that's difficult, complex, either something that you were doing that you want us to help with, which in a lot of cases is payroll, and definitely for the small and medium-sized business, same exact dynamic. And we know that we have opportunities, we're making progress, but to make that even better, kind of to the Gusto quality that if you've been working with us for several years, you expect. I can just say that it's a huge focus inside the company. It spans many areas. It ties to technology, so automation processes to go make sure that we're doing filings correctly at bigger and bigger scale with many millions of people being processed. It ties to the internal tooling, so the different products, tools that we bring to our Gusties who are doing some of these processes to give them more superpowers in how they navigate, for example, a tax notice or a tax resolution issue. It also ties to team and the quality of the people we bring in. That includes the individuals, the leaders, and we're always focused on continuing to build a team and improve the quality of the team.
Amazing. Same question to you, Eddie. What's Gusto doing on the technology, the product side, to enable like superpowers for Gusties or superpowers for customers?
Yeah, I spoke a lot about all the things that we've been building to help fit the needs of small businesses today. But I want everyone to know that actually our biggest focus has been around how do we eradicate customer pain, right? And I think a lot of the changes have led to a lot of customer pain. And so there's a lot of focus on the software team related to notices and resolution to those notices, internal tooling so that we can get through the backlog faster. Just to share a couple concrete examples, one of the things that I'm really excited about is a thing that we call internal. It's an internal product that we built called AutoSolve. It's a tax notice AutoSolve tool. And what this does is they're actually a set of notices where it's completely resolvable through software. You actually don't need to have someone on our tax resolution team or anyone else really get involved in it. And we're starting with a smaller set, but we're kind of expanding out. And as long as we know the type of notice it is and we can extract out certain pieces of information from there, our software can actually automatically resolve that notice and do all the things that you need to do to make sure that you don't have to worry about that notice. Like, you can literally shred up that notice with this AutoSolve tool. Today, 17% of our notices are being solved through this AutoSolve tool. And we know that there's a lot more that we could expand this to. And so I'm really excited to see over the next few months, like the 17% will turn into a larger percentage. And that just means that, just imagine a flow where you as an accountant or an employer like directly uploads, they take a photo of the notice that they've received from the IRS in the mail, they upload it to Gusto, and immediately our software solves it, and within a few minutes, they get some kind of communication back from us, or an email or a notification. This is what the notice was about. This is how we solved it, and what, if anything, and in a lot of the cases, the auto solves, you don't have to do anything. That person needs to do about it. That is ultimate peace of mind, and we believe that there's a lot more that we can do to expand this to different classes of notices. Just in the last 3 months over the summer, we've actually reduced our tax notice backlog by 33%. And at the pace that we're going, where we're actually solving a lot more notices, resolving them, than we're receiving. So we have a pretty significant surplus, is a way to describe it,
right.
That by the end of the calendar year, I expect our tax notice backlog to be eliminated. And so hold us accountable to that, but what I see from some of our work that we're doing, the tooling that we've built, the leading indicator metrics that we've made a lot of progress over the past few months, and we're going to continue that momentum through the rest of the year. Outside of software, I know another thing that we've done recently is to expand our support hours by another 2 hours per day. So we're taking support an hour earlier and an hour later in the day, and combined with a lot more internal tooling, things like the tax res tackle box. I'm kind of like sharing some inside baseball like terminology. These are things that we would never like kind of share externally because they're all internal products. We're seeing things like our tax resolution team solve twice as many notices per day today than they were last year. So the efficiency has increased significantly. And a metric that we track, time to resolution for accountant case has reduced by, I believe it's 15%. This is the time from when it's open to when it's actually resolved and closed is reduced by 15%. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing a lot of efficiency come into the system, and I think I'm really excited about the progress that we've made here.
That's awesome. I mean, that sounds incredible. Back to you, Josh. And for those who don't know, at Gusto, we believe that people are the heart of business, of every business, really. And at Gusto, we tackle it from both a product side, but we also tackle it from a people side. We've brought in some new leadership around that area, right?
Yeah, no, happy to spotlight. It always is a team effort, but leadership matters. And we think of leadership ultimately as a role for empowerment. How do you unlock the potential of a team? How do you give them the right incentives, but also the right inspiration so that they actually can do their best work? And so, a couple folks I can spotlight. Doug Woodard joined us as our head of CX. He had many years of tenure at Capital One. For that search in particular, making sure we found someone who had worked at the scale of leading teams with tens of thousands of people, where you have this important combination of technology and operations. Eddie gave some great examples of that. And then also work in a product domain that has a compliance regulated aspect to it. And obviously banking is a great example of that type of domain. So really excited to spotlight Doug. And then, we tweet about these and post them on the blog, but a lot more folks that have joined Gusto, really excited to have on the team.
Great. I know we're heading into the final moments here. Eddie, on your side, what excites you about this moment right here with everyone and Gusto Next and what Gusto's coming alongside the accounting profession? What kind of gets you jazzed about stuff like that?
As you can tell, I get really jazzed about just seeing all the metrics, the progress that we've been making in eradicating customer pain, as well as the additional capabilities like the R&D tax credits, the international contractor payments, 50 state tax registrations, and a lot of things that I know are going to be shared throughout the conference, which I don't want to spill the beans on, but there's a lot of stuff that out there that I'm just incredibly excited about. And as you know, as a technologist, I look a lot at data, and I think all those things I'm really excited about the way things are going. But also one thing that we love hearing is just directly from all of you, because as much as data can tell a story, there's nothing that really beats like talking to someone in person, really understanding how we can help everyone here. And that just has a lot more impact to us than the terabytes of data that we have across the company. So I think this is a great opportunity. If you see anyone at Gusto on the floor, I think generally everyone's wearing like orange shirts. I just kind of realized orange is my favorite color.
It's actually my favorite color.
Really?
Too. It is.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you have the orange socks and watch.
Yeah,
Eddie, you're not
exactly.
wearing the
But find someone and talk to them. And if you have anything to share, like we always want to hear your feedback. And that's really impactful for us. It helps us be very informed on what we do next, what we prioritize.
Great. Josh, on your side, why are you so bullish about Gusto Next and the relationship between Gusto and accountants?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and for those of you that have been partners for many years, the core of this is in my opinion, very logical set of opportunities for win-win-win outcomes. So Gusto, accountant, bookkeeper, and also the SMB. We have to keep living up to that potential, but what do I mean by win-win-win? So it's just very clear that the future for how a business runs is going to be leveraging smart technology. They must have a close confidant, someone they trust who can help them navigate the difficulty of running a company that is you all. And then obviously they have their team and their company that they're building. And so that was the genesis for this effort 9-10 years ago when we started working directly with accountants, was a belief that starting with payroll, there was an opportunity to make the SMB's life dramatically simpler, enable the accountant bookkeeper partner to save them some time and help them focus on where they can actually provide more differentiated value add. And obviously as Gusto, as technologists at the core with really strong operations teams, we knew we had a belief that we could scale to serving ultimately millions and millions of SMBs and maintain that quality. We have to live up to that, and you all too, right? Like the training, the learning you're doing around people advisory. The outcome should be you're more successful as a business, you're able to retain clients, get more clients, and obviously that's a good thing for Gusto as well. So yeah, just win-win-win is to me the main thing top of mind, and I'm excited for the partnership to grow.
Eddie, any words of wisdom as everyone goes into Gusto Next?
I'd say have a great time. If you have any feedback or anything you want to share, just find someone on the floor and come talk to us. I can't emphasize enough how important that is to us in informing how we prioritize things within the company, and with this group especially. I always feel like conferences like this are a great way to just meet people and network, especially when we haven't had an opportunity to do so in so many years. And so I wish I could make the happy hour tonight. Unfortunately, I'm flying back, but I encourage everyone to go there and have a good time.
All right, great. Well, big round of applause for Eddie and Josh. Thank them so much for their time. Eddie, Josh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.